Travis Wingate. So, as I've been under cyber attack since over the weekend, more furiously than previous times, I'm running a test to see how things go, but using a video topic that I've come up with a while back, finally getting around to as part of this test. The cyber attack, I've been able to confirm, comes from what's called an ARP spoofing device that's used by the shelter, and it's been preventing me from doing my business, communicating with government and with medical, and so it's a pretty serious crime being committed against me, as I'm forced to be here. This isn't my choice. I'm not staying here because I love it. And I'm getting perpetually sick with all sorts of viruses and diseases and sicknesses. So it's not a place that I want to be. But Utah has this policy of torturing people as an incentive to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. It's not a very good policy. It doesn't seem to work. So, anyway, we're testing. Because I've been filing complaints in my counterclaim, and apparently the plaintiff's counsel is counseling his clients to commit crimes against me. And so I've had to do other things, and so we're also testing that as well. So, the topic for the video, the Danites. See how it ties in? Yeah. They were the secret group converted to Joseph Smith's church by the 12 apostles. And so Joseph Smith set up the church, set up the 12 apostles, traveling ministers, to go around to spread the word about the Book of Mormon. Instead, the 12 apostles were going around and talking about Jesus and bringing people in who were disgruntled about whoever was responsible for stopping their plot to keep William Morgan silenced, as a certain Heber C. Kimball found out who it was and joined that church and brought in Brigham Young, and thus were part of the 12 that were going around recruiting the disgruntled enemy of America. And others went down to the South to become Confederates, to rise up during the Civil War. There's more to that story, but... And so these Danites were pretending to be Mormon, but secretly committing crimes against their neighbors and within Mormonism. They were the ones who were practicing polygamy, where Joseph Smith was, no, we're not. And so they framed Joseph Smith. And it's the most difficult thing for ex-Mormons and Mormons to understand. See, for me, I grew up among criminals. And so, yeah, I see it very clearly how this is being done. They're framing him as they are the ones responsible. It's the beam in the moat. But they know that it's the beam in the moat, so they can justify it. And so when Joseph Smith is finally assassinated, there are some manipulations of scriptures that take place. And I've already done the video where section 116 is a fraud. It was by the Danites. And if you go to the Wikipedia page on the Doctrine and Covenants, it tells you which sections in our Brigham Young branch off put in other sections, many of which claim to be by Joseph. And so there's this whole section that ties in with 116. Because again, science, in doing research, you look for patterns, identify anomalies, develop a theory to explain the anomaly with a test for confirmation or denial. And so sections 116 to 120 all represent Danite fraudulent documents. They all need to be removed if you're going to restore Joseph's original information. And so let's go over some of those. So 116, should bring it up on the screen, shouldn't we? Since we're talking about it. Been thinking about you. Alright, so 116, Adam on Diamond. Now, it was Newell K. Whitney's home, which became the headquarters for the Danites, specifically using Adam on Diamond to mock Joseph Smith. And the whole Spring Hill thing, no, they made that all up, as the document from the Joseph Smith papers shows us. And so most of these were put in the year before Brigham Young died. There's just one that was put in right after Joseph Smith died, and Brigham decided to put that in there. And there's a reason why, and we're getting to it. And so 117, you have Newell K. Whitney. Of course we do, because Newell K. Whitney is involved with Adam on Diamond, and that's why this is coming up here. And so Adam on Diamond is referred to in here, and the 1981 edition of our Doctrine and Covenants was decoded. They claim they got it all. And yet here in verse 8, on the plains of Olaha, Shinha, nope, even Adam on Diamond isn't decoded. And so no, they missed some. And they purposely did, because there's a reason why. Here in verse 11, that my servant Newell K. Whitney, who's got the headquarters of the Danites in Adam on Diamond, which was used as the base of operations right before they started the election fraud in Daviess County, which started the Mormon War, which Congressman Chris Stewart of Utah, his ancestor was the one who got first beaten to the ground to start the fighting. Isn't that fun? Oh, our ancestor was beaten to a pulp. Yay! But yeah, in my ancestry, my mom had told us about how her ancestors from my grandpa's side, who were plantation owners and lived along the coast of the United States and in the Caribbean, had Redbeard. I think it was Redbeard, who would come in frequently and rob from everybody. And so my poor plantation owner families. But yeah, that's the same family line where that ancestor raped the underage slave girl that became my ancestral line. And I don't get to claim reparations because I'm not black enough. But nonetheless, that my servant Newell K. Whitney be ashamed of the Nicolaitan band and of all their sacred abominations. Who's he talking about? But it's not Joseph, is it? See, it's the Danites talking to Newell K. Whitney to put in these scriptures as if Joseph Smith knew about it. And because he did, actually. There were some scriptures that Brigham Young definitely did not want put in official publication. 19 July 1840 B. And there was also another one in 1839. And then, of course, women getting the priesthood and priesthood office, 17 of March 1842. And so, yeah, the Nicolaitan band is the Danites. And there's the other guy, Benjamin Johnson. Is that the right guy? is the one who claimed that he went to Adamon-Diomen, which is where the Danites are, and a hooligan, came up with his pistol and said, deny the church, or rifle, deny the church, or I'm going to shoot you. Well, he denied the church because they didn't shoot him. He became part of the Nicolaitan band. And so that's 17 for you. And then 18, far west Missouri. Yeah, that's actually the evidence of Joseph's innocence, because the Joseph Smith Papers has a record of him making a sale to Emma Smith for land, for property, and he could not have been able to have been with the mob as the Danites forced a judge and a sheriff to sign that Joseph Smith had told them that he was responsible. He couldn't have been there. He couldn't have made it. The distance was too far away. And so with the Joseph Smith Papers, Joseph Smith is vindicated from all of this. This is how I've been able to figure all this out. And so concerning the 12. Isn't that interesting? Show us thy will, O Lord, concerning the 12. Yeah, so that's Brigham Young. As Thomas B. Marsh was chased out by the Danites and then excommunicated by Brigham Young when he took over with the sustaining vote? No, the quorum vote. Alright, and then 19 is the one. 19 is tithing. And likewise, it's all right here, July 8th, 1838, that we're getting all this stuff. This is the one that came out in 1844 and was put into the Doctrine and Covenants, and yet these others around it waited until the year before Brigham Young died. And so Joseph Smith now gone, and Brigham Young with his muscle, the Danites, is claiming to take over. And he takes over the Nauvoo Temple that is being built, and takes over the mansion home for the temple work. And so he adds stuff to it called the endowment ceremony, and requires that tithing be used as extortion in order to have access to the temple rituals. And that's Brigham Young. And this is why this is put in 1844, so that he can justify obtaining extortion money, protection racket money, from the members of the church for this purpose. And so he creates this document claiming it's by Joseph Smith, which is put in time specifically for this reason. In 1837, the Kirtland Safety Society, I believe that's what it was called, the banking operation, was sabotaged by the Danites. They had taken out too much loans that they didn't pay back, and as a result, failure. And Joseph Smith got sued and was able to avoid prison time for that, and thus the Mormon War that they then caused, which couped the church in 1838 and got Joseph in Liberty Jail. And so, because of this failure, they then, in 1844, thought, oh, perfect place to put this is we can then claim that Joseph Smith wanted to institute tithing rather than his law of consecration and the banking thing that failed. And thus, 10% of your interest annually, not excess. As I think it was excess, the other guy that said excess, revealing that he's not a Mormon. He didn't even refer to the passage. So now you understand why Section 119 is a fraud, and why it was put in when it was put in, and why it's where it is. And then 120, just a quickie, again claiming far west Missouri. The disposition of the properties tithed, as named in the preceding revelation. Ta-da! But this one was weighted until or the year before he died. It wasn't put in 1844 with Section 119. So that's the very interesting curiosity. And I should fact check that just in case. Doctrine Covenants Wiki. I'm so excited. Just can't hide it. No, I do not want to donate. You need another way to do that. Sections added to the LDS edition. 1844, 119, no. Yeah, 120 to 123 was also put in. And so actually we should go all the way to 123 and actually go as far back as 113. Because 113 to 118, and then 120 to 123, and then 125 and 26, as 124, 27, and 28 were put in 1844. And so these are the kinds of things that you do when you're doing research. And as I told you, you have separate sections, whether you do it on a Word program, whether you do it out on paper. You have names, places, events, dates, and you have it so that all the information is contained on each of the papers, so that when you see a pattern, you can then identify the anomalies and then run your theory tests, so that you can get an accurate historical accounting for what happened in the past, and not be fooled by authors who try to deceive Mormons and ex-Mormons alike. But yeah, 121 and 22 is Liberty Jail. Those are legitimate. So they merged legitimate with the frauds. So very interesting. And Nelson used Section 122 to give me a death threat for the eviction in the October 2021 General Conference. The bastard. And then he used another death threat in this last October conference, referring to the Lamb. That bastard. But yeah, if I hadn't actually studied and learned, graduated, published as a person who knows how to do research through the scientific process, I would have never done real church history research properly and would never have found any of this out. And so I would not have caught Nelson's threats to me over the pulpit of conference. So yay, isn't that great? So I'm hoping I can shave today. We'll see. 18 minutes will probably be escalated to 25.